You're watching Talking Points, a focus on the political scene in Lubbock and across the South Plains.
And welcome back. Here's a look at some of the political headlines of the past week. As Councilman Griff mentioned, several city workers have now moved into the new Citizens Tower building with a lot more to come. Building safety, planning, code enforcement, environmental health, as well as the engineering and accounting departments are all in there. It's open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday at 1314 Avenue K if you need something from any of those folks. Appellate court has upheld the findings of a district judge, and there will be a new election to name a justice for the 7th Court of Appeals. Lubbock attorney Larry Doss found himself about 200-odd votes short on election night in March, but later found out that the race had been left off the ballot in 2 counties. Doss appealed and won. His opponent, Amarillo attorney Stephen Denny, appealed and lost, and now we do that election all over on July 14th. The Texas National Guard continues to conduct coronavirus testing in communities across West Texas, testing patients in Brownfield this week. All part of Governor Greg Abbott's plan to have testing in every county in Texas. More than 1,200 National Guard members are deployed across the state now to help. And KAMC Wes Rappaport gives us an inside look at the response efforts by the Guard and what it means to a lot of folks who don't always have easy access to hospitals.
For the first time, we're getting a look inside the call center where soldiers are helping schedule appointments for Texans seeking COVID-19 tests.
You're on the phone with someone's family member, could be someone's friend, someone who is concerned for their personal safety and personal future.
These women and men are literally answering the call to serve. Governor Greg Abbott deployed more than 3,000 statewide to respond to the coronavirus, 1,200 of them to mobile test teams spread out mostly to rural areas to administer free tests to the public.
The mobile sites have been a godsend.
As the El Paso region saw a growing cluster of cases, many of State Representative Mary Gonzalez's constituents in Clint went untested as the nearest testing site was 40 minutes away. The military put a temporary testing site closer by.
Those mobile sites really make it more accessible, and that's exactly what we need if we're going to be able to fight this coronavirus successfully.
We are a small cog in a very large wheel.
I asked Colonel Peter Caldwell, a doctor with the Texas Army National Guard, whether the increased rural presence is in response to a surge in cases or we're just seeing more positive cases because of more testing.
Not to be difficult, but I think the answer to your question is both. We go in, we are doing the testing, so consequently we're going to find more cases. And what that also allows us to do, if we have what we call hotspot areas, we can come back and do more focused testing in that area.
In Austin, Wes Rappaport, KAMC News.
Wes, thank you. University Medical Center has started offering free antibody tests for any local first responders who'd like to see if they've already been exposed and didn't know it. These folks are used to using masks and gloves in tough situations. KAMC's Matthew Stell spoke with Lubbock Police Chief Floyd Mitchell recently, and he started by asking if the virus has changed the way his officers do their job.
This is new territory for all of us. And one of the things that we did early on was I brought in my executive command staff, and we sat down and talked about how are we going to police in a pandemic environment. So one of the things we did is, we put together a special order to communicate to our staff, both law enforcement and civilian. One, letting them know that one of our top priorities is to care for their safety. But we had to continue policing. We have to continue policing and provide safety and security for the men and women of the city of Lubbock. So just making sure that, one, we provided them with the proper PPE, or personal protection equipment. We've reiterated the safety aspects of our job and making sure that when they come into contact with people, they're using their personal protection equipment. But to continue to treat people with dignity and respect through this pandemic, relational policing. So, just laying out the groundwork for people to understand that, one, we have to continue to do our job, but we're going to try to do it as safely as possible.
Gotcha. Has any LPD employees, officers contracted the virus that you know of?
We've been extremely lucky, and none of our officers or our civilian members have contracted the COVID virus. We have had a couple of temporary quarantines to where one of our officers might come into contact with someone and we find out a day or so later that that person tested positive. We have that officer self-quarantine. We document everything that goes on with that, checking the temperature and all that, and then if they come back with no symptoms or if the test comes back as negative, then we bring them back to work. But luckily we have not had any members of the Lubbock Police Department test positive for COVID-19.
just kind of talk about the crime rate so far.
Okay.
On last week's press conference, you kind of gave a lot of numbers, and everybody would say, okay, we're listening, but we don't really know what that means. But kind of talk about, if we leveled out, are we about the same? Kind of give us a crime rate as it relates to homicides. We'll give you that later.
Okay. So, let's talk about the first quarter of 2020, January 1st to March 31st. When you look at our overall crime numbers, both persons crimes and property crimes, the numbers are really steady. There's a slight increase. Like when you look at our persons crimes, it's less than 1% above where it was last year. I'm sorry, less than 2% of where it was at the same time period last year. Our property crimes are up just about 13%, maybe a little more than that, of the same time period we were last year. When you talk about, the COVID-19 time period, looking at when the first disaster declaration was signed by our mayor, March 17th, up until April 23rd. So when you look at that first month, our crime numbers, both for persons crimes and property crimes, have gone down. So when we looked at those numbers, we thought, okay, what type of impact is COVID going to have on our department? That is a very small sample size, and I want people to understand that it is a small sample size, but our crime numbers went down. Then the other piece, people thought that because everyone was staying at home, we would see a significant increase in our domestic violence, both persons and property crimes. Again, that's not the case. You're talking about a small number, 1 month, a little over a month worth of numbers, but we did not see a dramatic increase in our domestic violence. Actually, just the opposite. Our numbers went down substantially, but again, you're talking about a small sample size of 1 month, but we didn't see a large increase in domestic violence. During that first month, or 2 weeks to a month of COVID-19, we didn't have a homicide during that first 2 weeks.
Have you had any, I know the system is, if you are seeing a party of 50 people, don't call police, call code to the fire marshal's office to report a complaint. Is that still the case so far?
Well, with the last governor's order, we are looking at what our ability is to control the size of these crowds. I think the mayor's orders are mirroring that of the governor. Again, our main goal is to get voluntary compliance. What we are talking about here is just reminding people we are not out of this yet, but we do have other avenues that we can use if we are running into that. You talk about all the cars, in the parking lots and in the parks. Just making sure people doing what they need to do if we need to disperse those large crowds.